The Education Scholarship Trust Fund, commonly referred to as the South Carolina Voucher Program, was signed into law last May. Since its inception, there has been discussions regarding both expansion plans and challenges to the 2023 law. Among the organizations challenging the law is the South Carolina Education Association, and today we are joined by their president, Sherry East. Sherry, we're very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Can you provide a brief overview of the South Carolina Voucher Program?
Well, for decades we have been fighting this voucher scheme where they want to take our public dollars and allow parents to use those dollars to pay for their private school tuition. And again, we have no problem with the parent's choice to send their child to private school. We're just asking that our public dollars not pay for that schooling. And so finally, last year they got enough votes, they passed it, so they're in the implementation stages right now. They're actually taking applications for folks to apply to get these, what they're calling scholarships, we're calling vouchers, to help offset the cost of private school tuition.
And now it's about $6,000 per child that that applies, right? There's certain regulations that the child needs to fit under in order to be able to benefit from this program. Without it being implemented, it hasn't gone into stone yet. Now they are trying to expand this program. Can you expand on that?
Right, last week, you know, kind of funny, the week before we go to court with our Supreme Court case, they decided to expand the voucher program, and some regulations that we felt better about, you know, that you couldn't already be in private school, you had to be new to the system, there was an income cap on there of who could apply. All of that went out the window last week with now, and we were kind of testing this out. We were hoping, like, let's try, if you know the General Assembly thinks this is a good idea. There were some safeguards in place to test it and see. Well, now it's kind of like, oh well, we're just going to throw all that out and expand the program before we've even started the program. So a lot of concerns that we've heard from other states that have implemented programs, and you know, they say, oh, Arizona is a model. Well, we say Arizona is a model for why you shouldn't have vouchers, because we hear a lot of things about the funding in Arizona and how it's really caused havoc in, you know, in that state. So we're very disappointed that they chose to decide to expand a program before they have even vetted and tested a program.
And what are the main concerns with this program and also with this potential expansion?
Mainly, we feel like it's unconstitutional. For one, our Constitution is very clear in our mind that says you are not allowed to use public dollars for private schools. Private schools can pick and choose who they let in their doors. Public school does not have that privilege. You know, we educate everyone. We educate all the special needs children, anybody that comes to us from a broken home, from a home that's not a traditional home, we still educate those folks. We have looked at some private school enrollment policies, and they're very discriminatory toward a lot of things. So that's another concern, is that you're going to allow this discrimination of private schools to pick and choose who and the types of students and families they allow to enter their schools. The other part is, you know, you've opened up a whole department within the South Carolina Department of Education, which is a state agency funded by public dollars. By Constitution, the Superintendent of Education is a public figure and should be in charge of public schools. So by placing this in the South Carolina Department of Education as a private school arm of our public school Department of Education seems to be quite the conflict of interest. You know, we would hope our Superintendent of Education has the public school back. Like, that's, you know, you're using every resource and every bone in your body to make sure your public schools are where we need to be, not trying to trade off and send our public school kids into the private school sector. And so what do you think, if this bill continues to, if it gets implemented and if the expansion comes, what do you see on the horizon for public schools? What is the future of public schools in your eyes? Well, I think there would be continued funding gaps. You would continue to segregate the haves and the have-nots, the parents that can afford the transportation to send their children or transport their children to the private schools. That will happen, and what's left behind, you still didn't fix a struggling school. Less funding will be available, and will the state be able to afford to keep up if it expands as it did in Arizona? They're struggling to pay the bills.
Yeah. And now, Sherry, where can we stay in the know with the South Carolina Education Association?
We have a lovely website. It's www.thethescea.org, and we have all kinds of information on there. We send out a weekly newsletter that has a lot of our voucher information on there.
Wonderful, Sherry. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're back in 2 minutes.